Midnight. Somewhere in the Caribbean, the wind pulls at the rigging like the fingers of the dead. A ship cuts through black water, lanterns swaying in the dark. On the quarterdeck, the captain stands alone. He watches the horizon. He does not watch the shadows behind him. Below deck, men are whispering. Names are spoken in hushed tones. Grievances, rehearsed 100 times in silence, are finally being said aloud. A blade is passed beneath a hammock. A nod, a glance, an agreement sealed without ink, without paper, sealed with rage. The captain does not know it yet, but he has already lost his ship. Tonight, loyalty dies. Tonight, the crew becomes the court, the jury, and the executioner. This is how mutiny begins, not with a roar, but with a whisper. There is a myth about pirate captains that they ruled like kings, that they barked orders from the helm and men obeyed without question, that their word was law. It was never that simple. The truth is far more dangerous and far more interesting. A pirate captain held power the way a man holds water in his fists, tightly, briefly, and always losing it. Unlike the Royal Navy, where a captain's authority flowed from the crown itself, written in orders, enforced by floggings and hangings, a pirate captain's power came from one source alone, the men who chose him. He was elected, voted into command by the very crew he would lead into battle. This was not a ceremonial gesture. This was survival. On a pirate vessel, the crew was sovereign. The captain served at their pleasure. He could be removed at any time, for any reason the majority saw fit. He was, in the truest sense, a public servant, accountable to the roughest electorate the world has ever known. But here's the contradiction that made piracy both radical and violent. The captain was elected, but he was also expected to be ruthless, to lead raids, to navigate treacherous waters, to make split-second decisions in battle when cannonballs shattered the hull and men screamed in the smoke. During combat, his word was absolute. Outside of combat, his authority was limited. He could not punish a crewman alone. He could not claim a larger share of plunder without the crew's agreement. He could not even choose the ship's next destination without a vote. This balance between battlefield dictator and peacetime servant was the core tension of every pirate vessel that ever sailed. And it was this tension that, sooner or later, always cracked. The captain who won victories and divided treasure fairly could command for years. But one mistake, one perceived act of greed, one voyage that stretched too long without reward, and the whispers would begin. The captain's power was only as strong as the crew's patience. What made men mutiny? Not madness, not chaos. Something far more corrosive, betrayal. The feeling, growing like rot in the timbers, that the man who was supposed to serve the crew had begun serving himself. History records the reasons with brutal clarity. The most common trigger was loot. Treasure was the blood of piracy. Every man aboard had abandoned civilized life, abandoned law, abandoned safety, abandoned any hope of dying in a warm bed for the promise of wealth. When that promise was broken, violence followed. Charles Vane was one of the most feared captains of the Golden Age. He terrorized the Caribbean from 1718 to 1719, taking prize after prize. But Vane's downfall was not a battle lost. It was a battle refused. In November 1718, Vane encountered a French man of war, a heavily armed warship. His crew wanted to fight. Vane assessed the odds and refused. He ordered the ship to flee. To Vane, it was a tactical decision, a reasonable one perhaps. The French warship outgunned them. Engaging would have been suicide. But to his crew, it was cowardice. And on a pirate ship, cowardice was the one sin that could not be forgiven. The crew voted immediately. Vane was stripped of command. His quartermaster, a man named Calico Jack Rackham, was elected in his place. Vane was given a small sloop and a handful of loyal men and cast out. He would never recover his former power. Within 2 years, he was captured and hanged in Port Royal, his body left to rot in a gibbet as a warning to others. But Vane's story reveals something essential about the mechanics of pirate mutiny. It was not random. It was not savage chaos. It was a system. A dark, violent, but functioning system of accountability. When the captain failed, the crew acted. Swiftly, decisively, without mercy. Mutiny did not erupt overnight. It festered. Like a wound left untreated in the salt air, it grew in darkness until it consumed everything. The anatomy of a pirate mutiny followed a pattern as old as the sea itself. First came the grievance, something small perhaps. A captain who took a better cut of the food. A captain who drank the rum while the crew went thirsty. A captain who navigated poorly and cost them weeks. Then came the conversations. Not in the open, never in the open. Below deck, in the deepest parts of the ship where the bilge waters sloshed and rats scurried in the dark. 2 men at first, then 3, then a cluster. Names were whispered. Loyalties were tested. Can he be trusted? Will he stand with us? The quartermaster was the key figure in this shadow theater. On pirate ships, the quartermaster served as the crew's representative, a counterbalance to the captain's authority. He managed discipline, settled disputes, and divided the loot. If the quartermaster turned against the captain, the mutiny was almost certain to succeed. The conspirators would gauge the crew's mood carefully. They needed a majority. On a pirate ship, acting without numbers was suicide. The loyalists would cut them down before they reached the captain's cabin, so they counted heads. They made promises. They reminded wavering men of every slight, every unfairness, every moment the captain had put his own survival above theirs. And there was always a tipping point, a final act that transformed simmering anger into cold resolve. Perhaps the captain punished a popular crewman without the quartermaster's consent. Perhaps he steered toward danger when safer routes existed. Perhaps he simply lost a battle, and men died, and the survivors needed someone to blame. Edward England was another captain undone by this arithmetic. In 1720, England captured several ships off the coast of Africa. After a brutal engagement with a well-armed merchantman called the Cassandra, England showed mercy to the defeated crew. His own men were furious. They had bled for that prize. They had lost friends, and their captain was showing kindness to the enemy. England was deposed, marooned on the island of Mauritius with 2 loyal companions. He built a small boat and eventually reached Madagascar, where he died in poverty. They suffered him to stay on board sometime after, but finding him still to be too merciful, they turned him ashore upon the island of Mauritius. And then the moment comes, the mutiny itself. It is almost always fast, not because the planning was brief, the opposite. Days, sometimes weeks of careful conspiracy, but the act itself, the confrontation, happens in minutes, often at night. The ship is quiet, the captain sleeps, or stands alone at the helm under a canopy of stars, thinking of treasure, thinking of tomorrow. He does not see them coming. They emerge from below deck, armed, silent. A dozen men, maybe more, moving through the ship with the coordination of men who have rehearsed this in their minds 1,000 times. The captain's door is kicked open, or he is surrounded on the quarterdeck, or he wakes to a pistol pressed against his temple. There is no trial in this moment. There is only arithmetic. How many men stand behind the captain, and how many stand against him? If the numbers are overwhelming, it ends without a shot. The captain is disarmed, stripped of his weapons, his coat, his authority, all in the span of a single heartbeat. If the captain has loyalists, it becomes something else entirely. A battle within a battle. Ship against itself. Blood on the same deck where these men ate together, sang together, survived storms together. History records mutinies that split crews down the middle, half fighting for the captain, half fighting to overthrow him. These were the ugliest moments in pirate history. No glory, no treasure at stake. Just men killing men they once called brothers. In the cramped, airless hell of a wooden ship at sea, the fight would rage through the night. Cutlasses in the dark, pistol shots echoing through the hold, bodies falling into the bilge. And when dawn came, the victors would be left standing on a deck slick with blood, looking at the faces of the dead, wondering if the price had been worth paying. Sometimes the deposed captain was killed outright, run through with a blade, shot in the head, thrown overboard to drown in the ship's wake. But killing a captain was not always the preferred option. Death was final, and finality left no room for theater. Marooning. The word itself sounds almost gentle, but the reality was a death sentence drawn out over days, weeks, sometimes months. A deposed captain would be placed in a small boat, or worse, deposited on a barren spit of sand barely above the waterline. He would be given, if the crew was feeling generous, a pistol with a single shot. One bullet. Not for hunting, not for defense. Everyone understood what that bullet was for. The pistol was a mercy. The mercy of a quick end when thirst and starvation became unbearable. Blackbeard's own crew witnessed this tradition. It was codified in the pirate articles, the written agreements that governed life aboard ship. Article after article, from ship to ship, included provisions for marooning. It was not random cruelty, it was policy. The articles of Bartholomew Roberts, arguably the most successful pirate of the Golden Age, who captured over 400 ships, explicitly stated that any man caught deserting, stealing from the common store, or defrauding the company would be marooned, set ashore, and left with nothing but a bottle of water, a weapon, and the silence of an empty horizon. The data reveals a striking pattern. As the Golden Age of Piracy intensified, so did the rate of recorded mutinies, peaking sharply in the 1710s and 1720s, when pirate fleets were at their largest and the stakes were highest. By the 1730s, as naval enforcement crushed pirate strongholds, the numbers collapsed, not because loyalty improved, but because there were And here we arrive at the truth that makes pirate mutiny so unsettling and so fascinating. Pirate ships were, in many ways, more democratic than the nations that hunted them. The crew voted on their captain. They voted on their destination. They voted on whether to attack or flee. They had written constitutions, the articles that guaranteed rights, equal shares of loot, compensation for injuries, a vote in all matters of importance. A pirate who lost a right arm in battle was entitled to 600 pieces of eight, or 6 enslaved persons. A lost eye earned 100 pieces of eight. These were insurance policies written by outlaws, enforced by consensus. The pirate ship was a floating republic, a brutal one, a violent one, but a republic nonetheless. And like all republics, it contained within itself the mechanism for revolution. The very democracy that gave the crew their voice also gave them the power to destroy the man they had chosen to lead. This was not dysfunction. This was the system working exactly as intended. Consider the story of William Kidd. Originally commissioned as a privateer by the English crown in 1696, Kidd was given a ship, a crew, and a license to hunt pirates and French vessels in the Indian Ocean. But the mission went wrong from the start. Kidd failed to take prizes. The crew grew restless, months at sea, with nothing to show for it. One crew member, a gunner named William Moore, confronted Kidd openly. He demanded they attack a nearby Dutch ship, an illegal target that would make them pirates, not privateers. Kidd refused. In the argument that followed, Kidd struck Moore on the head with an iron-hooped bucket. Moore died the next day. That killing did not stop the discontent. It accelerated it. The crew seethed. They saw a captain who could not deliver wealth and who resorted to murder when challenged. Eventually, most of Kidd's crew deserted him, taking plunder and vanishing into the ports of Madagascar. Kidd returned to New York, hoping for a pardon. Instead, he was arrested, sent to London, tried for piracy and murder, and hanged in 1701. His body was gibbeted over the Thames for 3 years. My lord, it is a very hard sentence. For my part, I am the innocentest person of them all. There is a final lesson in all of this, one that reaches beyond the wooden hulls and salt-stained canvas of pirate ships. Power is never given permanently. It is borrowed. And those who borrow it must understand the terms. Every pirate captain who stood at the helm knew, somewhere in the back of his mind, that the men behind him were watching, measuring, judging, that every decision was a test, every voyage a performance. The crew did not follow out of love. They did not follow out of patriotism or duty. They followed because the captain served their interests. The moment he stopped serving those interests, the moment greed outweighed fairness, the moment arrogance replaced competence, the contract was broken, and the sea, patient and indifferent, would swallow him whole. This was the unspoken truth of the Golden Age. The captain stood at the top, but the top was a ledge, and the fall was always fatal. So the next time you hear the word pirate, do not think of flags and treasure chests. Think of the captain who stood on deck watching the sun go down, knowing with absolute certainty that his crew was deciding his fate at that very moment. Think of the men below deck passing a knife between them, their whispers louder than any storm. Think of the vote that could save you or destroy you. Think of the island, the empty, burning, waterless island, where the unwanted were left to die. And think of this, on a pirate ship, every leader served at the pleasure of the led. Every captain was one bad decision away from the edge. And the ocean, vast and merciless, was always waiting below. A captain stands alone on a deserted shore. Behind him, a ship grows smaller on the horizon. He watches it disappear. He has no weapon, no food, no water, just sand and sun and silence, and the understanding at last that loyalty has limits.